The first piece of terminology we're going to discuss is megapixels. Megapixels are the representation of the resolution, in millions of pixels, of your image. Generally speaking, the higher the resolution, the higher the quality of the captured image. But how much resolution do you really need, and how much is simply marketing hype? Let's look at megapixels from a perspective that everyone's familiar with, your TV. An HD TV, no matter how big it is, always has the exact same resolution, 1920 by 1080. That's roughly 2 megapixels. That's right, your big TV is only 2 megapixels. So why do we need more than 2 megapixels if we can project an image to more than 70 inches and not notice the poor quality? The answer is, in still images, you absolutely can see the difference. In fact, a 2.1 megapixel image is really only good for printing up to 4 by 6 inches. Let's look at typical camera resolutions and figure out exactly how many megapixels you really need. The first real consumer DSLR was the Nikon D70. It had a whopping 6.1 megapixels. That was good for printing up to 8 by 10 images without a lot of enhancement. For what it's worth, back in 2006, I used to print 20 by 30 images from a D70, but I have much more discerning tastes today. The next crop of consumer cameras released came out with between 10 and 12 megapixels. You can comfortably print 11 by 14 prints with a 12 megapixel camera. These cameras stuck around for a few years until 16 and 18 megapixel cameras started showing up. Now we're talking about printing 12 by 18 prints. So we're going to skip ahead all the way to 2016. The current pro-level Nikon D5 and Canon 1DX Mark II came out within a month of each other. Both have full-frame 21 megapixel sensors. So today's professional sport shooters for SI, NBC, CBS, Fox, the NFL, MLB, the NHL, and the NBA, even the Olympics, are all shooting 21 megapixel cameras. So why do we have a need for higher resolution cameras like the Canon 5D, Nikon D800, D810, and D850, and the Canon 5DS? Well, the reality is, most people don't. Really, only specialized photographers need higher resolution than 20 to 24 megapixels. Landscape, architectural, fashion, and product photographers are the typical people that will most benefit from a higher resolution camera. And if you're new to photography, which I expect most of you are, you'll be sorely disappointed when you have to start buying hard drive space and huge memory cards to manage the gigantic files that are generated by these super high resolution cameras. Now, just for fun, I'll overlay 4K UHD and 8K UHD2 at resolution onto this image. As you can see, a 10 megapixel sensor is required to incorporate the width of 4K UHD, while an 8K image requires a whopping 40 megapixel sensor. Focal length, usually represented in millimeters, is the basic description of a photographic lens. As you can see by the image in this photo, this is a 24mm lens. This measurement is not the actual length of a lens, but the optical distance from the point where light rays converge to form a sharp object to the digital sensor. Let's slow that down to make it a little easier to understand. First, let's cut away the lens so you can see the elements inside. Next, we'll visualize light rays hitting the front element of the lens. The next sets of elements are responsible for focus. They bend the light in a way that it forms an X, called the point of convergence, and flips the image, which is then projected onto your image sensor. The distance between this point of convergence and the focal plane of your image sensor, in this case 24 millimeters, is your focal length.